What do you need to be doing with your dynasty teams as we head in to the final days of the 2025 FFPC pre-draft dynasty season? Who do you need to be drafting in your FFPC Best Ball leagues, in the Never Too Early Best Ball and the Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball tournament? And most of all, what advice do you need to be taking from the 2016 FFPC Main Event overall champion, David Hubbard? I'm Eric Balkman. Ferrell Elliott is here. David Hubbard will be joining us shortly. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you for all of you Ferrelliacs and Balkaholics watching this from around the world on the stream tonight and downloading and listening wherever you are. We appreciate it. My name is Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network, and the FFPC over at myffpc.com. Hi, hello, and welcome to Friday, April 18th, 2025. It's going to be a banner show tonight as we kick off. I don't want to say kick off because we're closing in on the 13th season or the 14th season of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour here on the FFPC family of podcasts. It's been quite a ride, and we have well over 1,000 podcasts under tow, and we are trying to figure out the best way to equip you guys for your rookie drafts, your dynasty drafts, your dynasty startup drafts, your redraft leagues, which are going to be starting up here shortly, as well as the KFFSC leagues you are in as well. Speaking of the KFFSC, why not bring in the master of the KFFSC ceremonies, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football? You know him as jferrellelliott Elliott on the X, at KFFSC official on the X. Please welcome in my co-host for this evening, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, good evening. Welcome. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. I may be the master. I'm trying to figure out who won the Sunrise at the Bourbon Turn division last year, and I'm having trouble doing it. But
was it Dom? I thought Dom was next to me. Dom Guzzetti was next to me on that. I don't know.
You know, Dom may have it. Not only does the winner of that league get the great respect of all the competitors, a wonderful championship trophy, but each year he will get a bourbon, a bottle from the Blyer Brothers Bourbon Company, signed by Rocky Blyer, a wonderful, beautiful bottle, and a great collector's item. And we'll have another one coming from my associate Luke Blyer, who will be joining us live at the draft, and he'll bring another bottle of bourbon down for this year's winner. And it's interesting, Balky, that's our 7:30 a.m. Sunday, and it's always the first to sell out.
You know, the thing is with Luke and Rocky Blyer, Ferrell, Rocky Blyer, it's a painstaking process for me anytime I promote anything regarding Rocky Blyer, because he hails from the great city in Northeast Wisconsin, Appleton, Wisconsin, which is my hometown. I love it.
Wonderful connectivity.
Yes, exactly. And I was just, I'm starting the show a little bit late tonight because I was in Green Bay earlier this evening earlier this afternoon, trying to plot out, because I'm going to be broadcasting live from the NFL draft for a lot of my shows next week up there. And I'm trying to figure out the best way home and trying to figure out, it doesn't matter. So what I want to bring up is Rocky Blyer is from Appleton, but Rocky Blyer played football for my arch rival. I went to Fox Valley Lutheran High School in Appleton, Wisconsin. Rocky Blyer was Appleton Xavier Catholic School
Yes,
in Appleton, Wisconsin. So it's a weird thing for me, man. I still hold Rocky Bleier in high regard, but at the same time, like this guy was like battling against my uncles, my cousins. You know, it's wild, man.
Still waters run deep, don't they, Balky?
They do. And listen, if I ever met, I'm a big fanboy, and when I'm broadcasting live at the NFL draft in Green Bay coming up next week, if Rocky is around, I will definitely have him on my show because I would love to bring that to everybody. I want to bring everybody into what we're talking about tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the FFPC Family and Podcast. Holy cow, Ferrell. We are less than a week away from finding out, you know, you and I have been talking about all these rookies and not only all these rookies, but all these veterans that are going to be affected by how these rookies are drafted over the course of 3 days here in Northeast Wisconsin. For the last 3 months, and now we're finally coming to a head on this. Yeah. It's going to be compelling. It's going to be unbelievable. We have Travis Hunter, a player that has, we've never seen before in the NFL. We've seen versions of him, but we've never seen anybody like him before. We have an underwhelming quarterback class. We have an underwhelming wide receiver class. We have an amazing tight end class. We have an amazing running back class. And I think that's what I want to lead in with you tonight. The FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball tournaments are almost full. In fact, they might be full. I have to load it up right now, but they're very, very close from being full. The orphans for the FFPC probably already taken. We have startup drafts starting at $100 and going up. We have $250 and $500 and a $2,500 league that are very, very close to filling. So check that out at myffpc.com. And the Big Gorilla Tournament over at myffpc.com, $1 million grand prize, including but not limited to a 4-person jungle safari. If you get in on hitting that 7th pick 5 times in a row with the 7 bananas promo, the early rampage promo is live right now. So if you are playing in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament and you join right now, you are basically getting in the Big Gorilla and the early rampage tournament, 2 tournaments for the price of 1 entry fee. myffpc.com is where to go for that.
I hope I win that safari because I'm going to turn it in and convert it to a trip to Detroit to see my pal Bill Hollywood.
Bill Hollywood was on the FFPC High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network last night. And Dom Gazzetti was in the chat room as well, Ferrell, our good buddy. And Bill said, hey, why don't you join that the KFFSC slow main event? And that would get us down to 6. And Dom said, okay, I will. And he's in. Dom is in. Bill Hollywood is in. Yours truly is in. The first KFFSC slow main event of the year. Check that out at kffsc.com. I am itching to draft, and you should be too. So join that kffsc.com. You can draft against Dom, Bill, myself, and a bunch of other luminaries here. Before we get into David Hubbard, the 2016 FFPC main event champion, I want to talk about some of the things that are going around the NFL right now, included but not limited to Ashton Genty. Jonathan Jones, who covers the NFL for CBSSports.com, Ferrell, reporting that, quote, plenty around the league strongly believe the Raiders, and I have to bring my chain out for this since we're talking Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders have fallen in love with Boise State running back Ashton Genty. Jonathan Jones from CBS Sports, again, as I quoted earlier, the quote here from Jones is, one executive from an AFC team went so far as to say it's a foregone conclusion that Las Vegas will take Ashton Genty with the number 6 pick. It would not qualify as a surprise that Pete Carroll is looking for his Marshawn Lynch, and he probably has found him in Ashton Genty out of Boise State. The running back room in Las Vegas, Ferrell, as you can probably attest to, it's not great. And it probably has been a lot better over the course of the years. But Ashton Genty, if he is added to this room, if he is added as the bell cow for not only the 2025 season and beyond. Holy cow. That would be tremendous, and it'd be tremendous for dynasty teams as well. If Ashton Genty is picked by the Raiders at 6, is he the 101 for you in rookie dynasty drafts?
Oh, I think he is no matter where he lands, but he'll be a 101 almost everywhere. 80% maybe, do you think? 80%, that high? You put him back there with a veteran like Mostert, that's a good combination of what, you would think, well, Mostert will come in and be a change of pace, a good catch back. But there's plenty of room for them. Akin to what you might see at the Ravens with number 43, that's Justice Hill, and of course our beloved Derrick Henry.
What do you make of Derrick Henry in Baltimore, Ferrell? Like, I don't have this on the sheet, but I think it's compelling because he is 31 years old. He's been awesome, obviously, but with a strong running back class here, and with Baltimore focusing in on that running back position, trying to find maybe not necessarily the next Derrick Henry, but the next guy that can take over for him. I think it's been not talked about enough, but that running back position for Baltimore, this is interesting as we, again, not look at the end of the first round, but the end of the second round, the third round, or whatever. Whoever the Ravens draft at running back on day 2, this is right up there with the best, landing spots with anybody as far as running backs go in the 2025 NFL draft.
I think it's a good opportunity if you wanted to bring along a player. I think that team has done well in the draft. They draft for specific need, and they draft players that fit their style, which is a little different from what you see from teams across the league. As if the Ravens have always had a unique way to handle the combine, and the numbers mean different things to them than they mean to most people. So they're always the most intriguing team, or one of the most intriguing teams in the draft. I think if you do anything to take the ball out of Derrick Henry's hands, you're being foolish. But that being said, they've always got the big running back, the big fullback that I like there, close to a 300-pound bowling ball. They've got Justice Hill, who we talked about previously. It'd be a hard way for a draft pick to get in and contribute very much, but Balky, it is a 53-man roster with 48 of them active, so we'll see.
I think if if you own Derrick Henry in Dynasty, if you already have drafted him in the first 2 or 3 rounds of your KFFSC or FFPC best ball leagues or what have you, it's fine. But I'm telling you, like, I feel like the way you succeed in Dynasty is getting these guys, in your late first round, early second round rookie drafts, keeping them on your roster. And I think we have seen this last year, Ferrell. I don't know how your Dynasty leagues turned out, but I have been incubating Trey Benson. I have been incubating Blake Corum. And I think whoever the Ravens draft, probably not somebody on day 1, but whoever they draft on Friday in round 2 or round 3, man, that is going to be an awesome player to have in 2026. And the reason you want to draft him is not necessarily, hey, this guy's going to be great this year. The reason you draft him is because you have him on your team. So after the 2025 season, you're able to trade him. You're able to utilize him for the 2026 season. Could be Caleb Johnson. It could be Quinshon Judkins. It could be a variety of players here. And I think that while 2025 doesn't look great for a Ravens running back drafted this season, 2026 could look awesome. And if you're in the scenario of you want to, Sean Siegel has talked about this on many FFPC podcasts before. This always, constantly reloading. You get that Ravens running back who Baltimore drafts on Friday or maybe early Saturday. You could be looking at a huge boon for your fantasy dynasty relevance going forward Not necessarily this year, but years in 2026 and years beyond.
And we are extremely deep at the position this year. And we talked with, Chuck Root last week, and I asked him, 6th or 7th round pick of the rookie draft in Dynasty, how you value that. And Chuck didn't particularly give it a lot of value. And I talked about that's where I got Pacheco one year. Mm-hmm. And I had so many texts and a few calls after the show last week of everyone wanting to tell me who they had gotten in the late rounds and how happy they were about it. And I think, Balky, you are spot on once again, especially when you've got a deep running back and a talented class like this. Go out there and get you those running backs.
I want to bring this up, Ferrell, because we've been talking running backs. Let me talk about receivers here.
Okay.
The Athletics, Colton Pouncey, who covers the Lions, says that Brad Holmes. I'm going to leave my Raiders thing on just for lack of another reason.
We appreciate that, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Ferrell. Colton Pouncey, who covers the Lions for the Athletics, says that Brad Holmes, who is the GM, says he is, quote, less certain about extending Jameson Williams' contract than he is for extending defensive end Aiden Hutchinson contract and safety Kirby Joseph's contract. Now, this is a reading between the lines scenario for Colton Pouncey. A wide receiver extending him in the NFL right now, it's not going to be cheap. It's been very expensive. T. Higgins is proof of that, right? As the number 2 receiver for the Bengals, signing a mint for Cincinnati going forward. Holmes says he'd like to add competition to the wide receiver room in Detroit, which is no surprise there. The Lions have said that they are going to pick up Jameson Williams' 5th-year option, but it's possible that they invest in another wide receiver, be it in round 2, round 3, round 4, what have you, in this year's draft, and preparing for Jameson Williams signing for a bigger deal with a different team in 2026 and beyond. Now, Pouncey, the writer for the Athletic who covers the Lions, says that the team has not spent a 1st round, a 2nd round, or a 3rd round pick on a wide receiver since Jameson Williams in 2022. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that is something significant. It could be either way here. But as we look at Jameson Williams, Ferrell, not only in best ball this year, but in Dynasty in years to come, I'm kind of down on him. I always have been down on him for whatever reason. Maybe it's self-imposed stuff with Jameson Williams over the years, as far as how he has developed to an NFL player. I've always been down on him, but now I see this and I'm like, God, I'm even more down on him. And if the Lions end up drafting a wide receiver on day 2, I don't think they draft one on day 1, but if they draft a wide receiver on day 2, I'm really down on Jameson Williams. Your thoughts on drafting Jameson Williams in best ball this year, as well as if you have him in a dynasty league right now in the KFFSC or the FFPC, how do you handle him properly?
Let's draft Jameson Williams. Let's draft anyone from Detroit. Let's be in business with Detroit. That's a good move for fantasy football. As far as contracts and the people that follow those things for a reason, we've got labor peace and we've got a CBA that expires in 2030. However, those in the know will tell you that we're likely to get a new CBA before this one runs its full course. And the Lions may be looking to lock up defenders, which are in short supply, along with offensive linemen that are in short supply, and see how the market develops for the wide receivers. Cincinnati was very successful in waiting to sign their receivers. They paid for them respectively, and they did it out of an available cash and the salary cap. We don't know exactly where the salary cap is going, but it is growing every year. And if we get a new CBA within the next 18 or 24 months, that will be reflected in some of those skill position, wide receiver, running back contracts. We'll probably see a gain in those. So, and I wouldn't worry about having him as a dynasty player. And I don't think he's Detroit specific. I think he's got a skill set. Balky, the reason that you are souring on him somewhat is he's named after an Irish whiskey and not a beloved bourbon of your choice here in Kentucky. So that's one of your that's deep in your psyche of why you can't get with it.
As Theo Greminger from Fantasy Points would say, shout out to Theo Greminger, who is always giving constant shout outs. This was a thing that happened, Ferrell, and I think I might have mentioned this to you. Theo and many others 2 years ago were definitely in on Jameson Williams, and they said, how can we, and I might have mentioned this on the show before, and I apologize if I have.
It's like a rerun.
Right, exactly. But they said, how can we reference Jameson Williams on our podcast without people like knowing who we're talking about? So they had to come up with a nickname for him. Yeah.
Whiskey Bill.
Whiskey Bill was the nickname.
And nobody could break such a complicated code.
So here's the thing. So
the geniuses that they are.
Right. So Whiskey Bill is how we will refer to him. We are carrying this over from Fantasy Points and Theo Greminger. Whiskey Bill. Will he be a Lion after his fifth-year contract or fifth-year option is picked up? We don't know. But Ferrell has already let you know his thoughts on him. I happen to agree with Ferrell on a lot of this, and so we move on to the Houston Texans. Ferrell, ESPN's DJ Bieniemy has reported that and this may not be breaking news, but the Houston Texans are expected to, quote, add receivers in the 2025 NFL Draft. After Nico Collins in the Houston wide receiver room, it's not great, Bob. Stephon Diggs is no more in Houston. He has departed via free agency. Tank Dell may not play at all in 2025 because he had that knee dislocation towards the end of the season, and he tore multiple ligaments there. The team has traded for Christian Kirk, which obviously helps. They've signed Justin Watson, which I don't want to say obviously helps, but on the surface it helps, along with Braxton Berrios from the Miami Dolphins, who's joined the Houston Texans. And by the way, Braxton Berrios tore his ACL last year, so he's recovering from that on his own. You are looking at Collins, you are looking at Berrios, Kirk, and Justin Watson as the top four receivers in Houston right now. That is going to change. Kirk is going to be joined by Collins and somebody else in the draft right now. I think that the thing we have to understand right now, as tempting as it is to take Christian Kirk in best ball drafts right now and trading for him for pennies on the dollar, the Houston Texans receiver that you want to own is unknown to us right now. He is going to be a guy that's drafted in the second round. He's going to be a guy that's drafted in the third round. And I think that's who you want to own, not only in dynasty leagues, Ferrell, but in redraft leagues as well.
And not a particularly deep draft at the wide receiver position, Balky, and not the top end speed that we've seen amongst some receivers over the years. Yeah, and we've got a Texan waiting in the green room who knows more about fantasy football than anyone who has spoken or anyone who has written here about any of these things. But it's Houston has gone out. The thing that says to me that they don't have the receiver that they want, they've gone out and signed three of the same guys. And that's problematic. Two of them are hurt. As Corey Walters points out, it reminds us Kirk is hurt, and you've got a receiver here in Berrios that is recovering from an injury, and Berrios is a complimentary player at best. So yeah, there's some guys. There's some guys coming here. And what does Tank Dell weigh? Was it like in the 150s?
It's not in the 150s. It's heavier than that, but it's
heavier than that. And Tank Dell is a player that had issues too. But boy, you know what? Let's just talk about the good stuff of fantasy football. You got Nico Collins, baby. And if you got Nico Collins, how happy you should be.
What's ironic here when we talk about Tank Dell's weight, Ferrell, as we bring on our guest here tonight shortly. You and I have dined at Joe's Stone Crab in Las Vegas. Yeah. And what's interesting is you and I have both, not each of us. Well, I should say each of us. We have each eaten Stone Crab in the weight equivalent to Tank Dell on different occasions. Tank Dell weighs in at 165 pounds. Ferrell, you and I have tag team to eat in Las Vegas damn near 340 pounds of stone crab. and Tank Dell weighs in 165. That's not great. That's
Yeah,
not great
get Doc
for you. It's
Hutchinson
not great
to-
for me. It's not great for Tank Dell.
Yeah, get Doc Hutchinson to tell you about his story. And we had another thing we wanted to talk about with Mark Andrews. We want to get our guest out here. Maybe we can get him involved in that Andrews conversation.
Well, maybe we can. I'm going to bring him in right now.
Yeah, bring him in.
And quite frankly, I think we'll have audio. I don't know if we'll have video, but that's okay. This is a guy who
you must need to get a haircut for Easter, or he got a haircut for Easter and he's not happy about how it looks.
Well, definitely, I need a haircut for Easter.
Boy, you don't need a haircut. You looks like you put a little shoe polish in that beard.
No,
it's darkening up on you.
I put some oil and some pomade in it.
You look good. So some pomade. You put some of that pomade.
But I will say this: my history on this show is there's a hole in it, Ferrell, because I had this guy on, God, I don't know how many years ago it was. And now we're finally bringing him back. This is not quite 10 years, but it's pretty close to 10 years. This is a guy who is the most accomplished, and I'm going to say arguably for all this. He's arguably the most accomplished. He's arguably the highest winner. He's arguably the guy who has won the most money over the course of the last 10 years in the FFPC, be it the main event, the Football Guys Players Championship, the Fantasy Pros Championship, the Big Gorilla this year, as well as the Best Ball Tournament. You follow him on the X, and I should have this up right now, and I don't have him, but I promise you I will get it. He won it with Nelson Sousa, the main event in 2016, a guy who is no stranger to these airwaves. He is David Hubbard, and I'm trying to bring him on right now, and I am having some problems right now trying to bring him on.
It's a beautiful introduction.
I know it's a beautiful introduction, and
it's kind of like when Carson would introduce Sinatra, and he wouldn't quit talking about him. It was like, "What do you say?" And then he would say all these things, and all of them are true. The thing I love about Hubbard, he'll saddle up to me in Las Vegas, and he'll always say something that makes you feel really good about yourself, And I think he's a great ambassador for the hobby, and availability is his greatest ability, and he's just he's just the same guy with all guys. I really do enjoy him.
All right,
so he's muted too.
Yeah, he's muted, and I'm trying to unmute him right now, and this is
he just needs to reach out there and hit that little. There he is.
Okay, so we got Dan. There he is. Oh my God, David Hubbard, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard, my friend. Happy April to you. Good evening, David. What's been up with you? What's going on? Good.
Hey, Bucky. Sorry about the delay. I couldn't figure this thing out. I've used StreamYard before, but for whatever reason, it was taking me through all kinds of hoops, and I couldn't get on here. Hey, Ferrell, how you doing?
Good to see you, brother.
I'm running a little late too. My wife had me feeding cows and donkeys and chickens tonight, and I couldn't get through with the chores in time to get here on time. But I made it.
Listen, you
a gentleman farmer.
Yes, sir.
He and Pittman. Yeah. One of the reasons I love him so much.
You are too kind. Like a lot of people who have seen you in the draft rooms, David, with the best ball tournament, the Big Gorilla or whatever. They're like, oh, I'm so excited to see Dave on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight, because I know if I'm drafting in the late draft tonight, which you're not drafting in, I don't have to deal with him because you're going to be on the air with us tonight, which is great. Yep. And I'm so thankful for you doing that. So let's lead off here tonight. And I want to start in Green Bay, which is where the draft will be in less than a week. Marshawn Lloyd was drafted by the Packers last year in the second round and had a really, really rough training camp, a really rough freshman season in the NFL, especially when you consider how good Josh Jacobs was, and then you go to Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks and what have you. But as we draft in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, the Big Gorilla Tournament right now, Marshawn Lloyd is still a part of the Green Bay Packers. He was still a second-round pick last year. David, I'm obviously setting you up for this right now. Why should we not forget about Marshawn Lloyd for 2025 drafts this season?
You must be looking at my exposures in drafts or something, because I started doing I wasn't a big best ball guy till the last couple of years. Like it's a learning curve, best ball to redraft. It's definitely a different game than redraft. And now I'm like addicted to the best ball. So I did a ton of the never too early best balls. And to me, Marshawn Lloyd was like the true value of all those drafts. People get enamored with the rookies and they want to draft the rookies. This guy has the pedigree. I think the guy's going to be a huge part of their game. I think they overused Josh Jacobs last year, and I think they're going to cut him back and use Lloyd a lot more this year. And maybe I'm giving some information away that's going to help some other people, but Marshawn Lloyd is like just a free click for me in all these drafts.
No, I'm adding him to my list, Hubbs. Okay, I got a two-part question. I'm going to go a little off script. The first one is on script. I like trying to focus and capture players that are on very good teams. Buffalo Bills, I'm always looking at Buffalo Bills, very good team. They got running backs. They got our Kentuckian Ray Davis. They got James Cook. Is there preference? Can one of them become a fantasy scorer that you would look to start all the time?
Definitely. I think there's a real chance they could move Cook. I mean, Cook and the Buffalo Bills are not seeing eye to eye right now. He wants a lot of money. He might be one of those guys that says, I mean, he performed and they don't want to pay a running back. So it's not going to shock me if Cook's not a Buffalo Bill when the season kicks off.
And
so Ray Davis is another guy that has a lot of value in drafts right now. And I don't think he'll move up until that happens. So you can get Ray Davis at no cost. And James Cook's kind of an unknown, and you might overpay for James Cook right now.
Okay, here comes my second toss-up question. This is the one I'm really, really interested in because we ask this damn question about Cooks and Davis every week. Here's one. I made a trade in Dynasty, a future draft pick, I think like a second pick, to acquire Mark Andrews last week. And I think a lot of people begin to think Mark Andrews is through. But 11 touchdowns last year, a string of 6 games, I think, at the end of the season, scoring in each game, plus the consistency and the production out of very few targets, make me think that Andrews, when he gets healthy and comes back, he missed the 2 games in September, very little contribution in the 2 games, like I think in week 3 or 4, and I think that soured a lot of fantasy players on him. Andrews has to be sliding down from what we've traditionally seen him in the drafts. Did I make a good trade, and are you targeting Andrews at a depressed price this year?
Andrews is an interesting guy this year. I've seen him go in the early 6th round of drafts, which is if he returned to form. What people remember about him is he dropped that big pass in the playoffs that kind of left everybody with a sour taste, and that's why there's probably rumblings about him moving. But I'm not so sure the Ravens want to move on for him. I think they're happy with Likely and Andrews both playing. And, Andrews in some drafts has definitely been a value. I've gotten him in the 9th round of some of those early best ball drafts, which I think is a really good value. But he's living pretty much in the 7th round of the drafts. And because of the unknown about whether he moves to another team, and then Likely's value spikes. And Likely lives in like the 10th to 11th, 12th round. And if Andrews moved, Likely would do what? He's going to go way up the board, right?
Right.
And Andrews, depending on where he goes, but I think they like Andrews, and I don't think Andrews is going anywhere. I think
look at this quote. John Terry's already had too much ginger ale tonight. Look at what the hell is that?
No, I get what he's saying. It's fine.
You do? Well, translate, please.
Okay, so he is saying Andrews is not done, but Baltimore is going to trade Mark Andrews for his own personal safety. Not saying I agree with it, but I understand what.
That's always every general manager's thinking of that. Let's get it.
That drop pass was horrible. There's no doubt about it. And
so David,
like Lamar said after that game, the NFL game, you can't blame one play on it. It could be a series of plays. That's just the one that's magnified because it happened at the end of the game. There's other reasons why they lost that game.
So David, that begs the question here. Like, you have a lot of NFL fans looking at how the Ravens lost that game, and they put it on Mark Andrews. He had another bad drop in that game. Do you feel like, hey, when you see something like that at the end of the season, and then the best ball season and redraft season with the Big Gorilla, the never too early tournaments and the FFPC Start-Up in January, do you feel like, hey, I should capitalize on that? Everybody's down on Mark Andrews as a Raven in 2025. Do you feel like he is being unfairly downgraded. And I'm not saying just Mark Andrews, but there's other players like that where you're like, I should be cashing in on this guy right now because in June and July, I'll never get this guy cheaper than what he is now.
It's human nature, Balky, on anything. People only see what happened. Recency bias is what a lot of people call it in fantasy football. That's what the most recent thing happened with him. They forget that he's been an all-pro tight end and dominated the NFL. He's a mismatch nightmare. The kid also has type 1 diabetes, which is not a bargain for anybody to deal with in life. So that's another factor he deals with. But his talent is unquestioned, and I think Lamar really likes the guy. I think they're like really.
I think if you look at the expression on his face after that game and after that play,
Andrews or Jackson or Ferrell, who are you talking about?
Andrews.
Okay,
I think he'll never drop another one.
No.
I mean, I've never seen a player just so mournfully in pain.
And all you hear from teammates, coaches, is the guy's the hardest worker on the team and does everything the right way. He's a leader. I mean, football, it happens. I mean, it happens to every player. Great players, not great players. You drop balls in big situations. You don't make the play. I mean,
remember when Tony Romo bobbled that extra point
against Seattle? Sure, I do. Yeah.
I think
it's happened to a lot of players.
David brought it up as well already. This is a guy who's already had to battle through so much, being a type 1 diabetes guy with Mark Andrews. Like, you're going to tell me that guy who's had to outwork everybody through high school, through college, the pros, like, this is not going to ring true harder than it would with another random wide receiver, random tight end. Like,
he's not just going to give up. He's going to work harder because of that.
And I think that bodes well for him. Whether it's on Baltimore in this year or if they move on from him and they trade him to somebody else, I'm still dialed in on Mark Andrews for sure. No matter.
I think Baltimore would have to get a sweet deal for them to move him.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll get it, David. Like they might not. But regardless, I'm just kind of like I'm dialed in on him. Whoever he is playing for in 2025, I like it. The AFC is where the Ravens are, and it's where the Dolphins are as well. And that's my next question here. Jalen Wright is a player that I drafted on a few of my dynasty leagues. I have him on a few of my best ball leagues so far this year. And I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here, Mr. Hubbard, and to get your thoughts on Jalen Wright. How confident are you in Jalen Wright being the backup to Devon Achane this year with Raheem Mostert in Las Vegas, with the Raiders, as I rep the Raiders here tonight? But
yes, sir.
How confident are you that Jalen Wright will be the backup and the Dolphins aren't going to be drafting somebody on day 1 or day 2 of the NFL draft that will be the Achane backup this year, that will either, compete with touches for Wright or overtake Wright? I have Wright on a few of my teams, and I'm just kind of wondering how you feel about Wright for the 2025 season.
You're kind of locked in tonight, right? And Marshawn Lloyd are very similar backs, second-year backs, both really talented backs that the team invested quite a bit in to get. They have draft capital, right? They have the coaches like them, and I think Wright's another guy that's probably mispriced right now in the running back market. I would definitely be a buyer where he goes in drafts, in redraft and best ball.
Good man. Buying in running backs this year is something that I think is going to be very, very popular when we go to our dynasty rookie drafts. And when we head to the main event, after watching some of these guys play in the preseason, the landing spot specific player that I am most interested in is Kansas State Wildcat DJ Giddings. I watched this player run for 180 yards. I think it was against Oklahoma State. And then he came back against Colorado. I think Oklahoma State, he ran for 180 yards. I said, well, that guy will never have that game again. The next week he ran for the same thing. It's just, he can catch the ball pretty well. Your thoughts on Giddings? I did take note that your Houston Cougars shut him down a little bit when he came down there. But nevertheless, yeah, Giddings is a player I'm interested in. Your thoughts on this player? I know you're familiar with him.
I'm a huge DJ Giddings fan. I mean, I think arguably he's the running backs are in this class are like crazy good. This may be the best class I've ever evaluated that I can remember from a running back standpoint. I think it's the best running back class in the history of the NFL.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there, David, because you were drafting back in 2017 when we had Fournette and McCaffrey and Mixon and Aaron Jones and James Conner and all those guys. But you're saying 2025 is actually better than that class.
I think this class is the best class in the last 20 years. I really do, talent-wise. And Giddings is right there with all of them. When we talk about Genty, talk about Hampton, all those guys, there's a litany of them. You can't stop. I find a new guy every day. I watch football film right now. This is my off season, and literally all I do is, since I don't play poker much anymore, I literally watch film every day. I find a new running back, and I've never done this as long as I've been watching film and evaluating players and keeping notes on players. I find a new running back I like in this class every day of the week. It's crazy. There's going to be a lot of undrafted free agents that are going to stick. If I was a running back on some of these teams, I would be scared for my job because some of these guys aren't going to have a job because these guys are going to come in and take their jobs. There's not a doubt in my mind.
I think this works in your favor, David, because I know you don't play Dynasty or whatever. So it's easier for you to say, like, hey, these veterans that have been on these NFL teams the last 2 or 3 years, I have no interest in drafting them in best ball. I have no interest in drafting them in the big gorilla because you know that once these rookies hit it, like Pat Fitzmaurice from Fantasy Pros said this is going to be the biggest retirement party in the history of the NFL with all these running backs this year. Ezekiel Elliott and all these guys. Like that's what's going to happen, right? Because all these rookies are going to take it over. And I mean, you're not going to overdraft these guys, but at the end of best ball drafts, the end of big gorilla drafts or what have you, like these are the players you want to be investing in, not Elliott, not these other,
not Elliott,
not Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I don't personally play Dynasty, but I talk to Austin Martin, who maybe is the best Dynasty player in the world. And we talk every day about different scenarios, and I pick his brain, he picks my brain, and we agree that this class is like unbelievable.
It's insane. And and the thing of it is like, and I'll be watching this draft. I'm going to be in person in Green Bay live watching this draft. I don't know how good these running backs are going to be because some of them are going to be drafted in the 4th round, the 5th round, and they could be the backups to whatever team drafts them because that's how good this class is going to be in 2025. To your point, Ferrell, DJ Giddens, 187 yards against Oklahoma State this past year. The very next week against the Fighting Sanders of the Colorado Buffaloes went for 182 yards. He tacked on 3+ 100-yard rushing performances over the course of the remainder of the season. 21 catches over the course of the season. It doesn't matter for me. I am team DJ Giddens with David Hubbard as well. I think this is a guy that you're going to want on your dynasty teams. It's a guy you're going to want on your best ball teams as well.
His vision and acceleration once he gets past the first level is like
terrific. Long speed.
I mean, we saw Genty and all that, but you hadn't seen a lot of DJ Giddens highlights. Sit and watch some tape on him for a few minutes, and if you like running backs, you're going to fall in love with that kid.
I just feel like it's all about athleticism. When you get into round 2 and round 3, like give me the guys who have the talent that cannot be coached, right? Devin Neal is a good example of this. Devin Neal, I feel like, okay, well, you can work with him to a certain point, but at a certain point, his athleticism limitations will probably warrant him being a round 3, round 4 pick in your dynasty draft or a late round pick in your best ball draft. DJ Giddens, that's a guy who can be coached up because he's got the natural talent. Give me the guys with the explosion, the speed, everything like that, what Giddens has. Bashal Tootin is another guy, and Brashard Smith is another guy I really like. And I think that those are the people that we need to be paying attention to if you want to win your best ball leagues, your dynasty leagues. Those are the running backs I'd be concentrating on. Okay, let's move to a wide receiver here, David. DK Metcalf is no longer a Seattle Seahawk. He is going to be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether that's catching balls from Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers or Terry Bradshaw, I have no idea at this point right now. But how does DK Metcalf's presence in Pittsburgh affect George Pickens? How have you been handling Pickens in your best ball and big gorilla drafts right now with the FFPC?
Yeah, the problem with Pickens and Metcalf is the unknown, right? We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. The offensive coordinator is an issue. They both have. I mean, you can't question the talent. The talent's there. They can beat anybody one-on-one in one-on-one matchups. So I think if they get the right quarterback, there are two guys that are reasonably priced in these drafts right now. Pickens is probably underpriced. DK's probably about right where he's priced. Maybe he has room for some upside, but it's going to depend on who lands at quarterback there. And then you have to overcome the Arthur Smith play calling. But if the right quarterback gets there, maybe that helps. We'll see. But I think both guys are reasonably priced in drafts right now.
You know, we're talking about these prices, Balky, and we're 40-something minutes into the show, and we haven't said one thing about Mojo and where some of these guys are.
Oh, yeah.
Would you mind going to Mr. Armani's service and looking up something for me from the Never Too Early?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I would like to know about the aging Tyreek Hill and the non-productive Jalen Waddle. So I think, and Dave, my opinion on Waddle has been, I got this one right. Now, watch people drafting him all the time. And 50-something catches last year, and he got most of them in 2 games and 2 touchdowns. The year before, 4 touchdowns. The question I was going to ask you, does he have a bounce-back year? I don't think a bounce-back year is in him. And even if he does, he's not – even if he were to have a bounce back to the previous year's numbers, those aren't numbers that are going to excite me. So I made my mind up on Waddle. I don't know about Hill, 31, but still such a special athlete. And then there's the quarterback issues. Balky, you got draft spots on these guys?
I do, yeah, absolutely. In the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, ADP, which we're going to cite Fantasy Mojo analytics on this. FantasyMojo.com at FantasyMojo on the X, the godfather of the FFPC Pros versus Shows Challenge. If you are playing in the FFPC, highly recommend you get a subscription to FantasyMojo.com to set yourself apart from everybody else drafting in the FFPC. Tyreek Hill in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament over the last week has been going as wide receiver 15, Ferrell. He is going on average at the 306. Now, Jalen Waddle, you have to go all the way down to wide receiver 33 at the 608. This is Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy territory. So Waddle going way later. You're looking at 3+ rounds later than Tyreek Hill here.
But 5 rounds ahead of Pittman. Just want to throw that in there. 5 rounds ahead of Pittman. Waddle, who oftentimes doesn't necessarily play. He's been hurt. He's had some injuries. I remind everyone that Pittman played last year with a broken back. Everyone says that injuries hurt. But enough about Pittman. Dave, I think Hill might be right. Waddle is, a single-digit draft pick for this player. I think he ought to be a 12th rounder.
It depends to me on Waddle. Waddle has the talent. If there's a lot of noise about Tariq maybe moving on too. So if Tariq moved on, Waddle would go up the board. There's no doubt about it, because then he would be the number 1 there, and they would feature him more. The problem with Waddle is he disappears in some games like you're talking about. And then back to the one great thing about this year in drafting, Ferrell's going to be able to own all the Michael Pittman he wants, because Pittman is he's forgotten.
I'm running him down, man. He's going to be my 18th round wonder. And Dave, when you come to Kentucky this year, though, you will have
every year, but I haven't made it yet.
You will have. I got to tell the story, Bucky, because we're going to go over anyway. Dave is committed to coming. This might have been 23, I think. No, 22.
22.
And then Houston had the weather, the
hurricane,
the August hurricane, and I called to check on how he was doing. He says, "I'm fine, but this is what it looks like to my house." And the telephone poles were like this. They were almost, it was just, and I said, I'll be damned. We're gonna miss that Hubbard again. But this is your year, Dave. Here's your year. I was just in Houston, enjoyed a nonstop flight from Houston to Louisville. I was here before I ever, quick flight.
Yeah, it's an easy flight.
This is your year, sir.
All right, I'll be there, Ferrell.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
So
Did you hear that commitment, Balky?
I heard it. And I'm noting it here.
Note it.
10:55 Eastern Time.
Yeah, we got
on
it.
April
I tell
18th,
you.
2025.
Man, this is my year, 2025.
All right.
Let me tell you.
So I want to get the input is pouring in on YouTube right now, David, and I want to get to as much of this as we can. I don't know if you have thought on this, but Rubio, my good buddy, he wants to know, what are your thoughts on Lamb freaking Larison? Lamb Larison is a running back that, and listen, if you're not playing in Dynasty, maybe you don't care about him. If you're playing in best ball, maybe you care about him a little. I don't have strong thoughts on this guy. I know that he is building up a following for late in best ball drafts and late in Dynasty rookie drafts. David, do you have anything to say about Lamb Larison, or is this a guy that you've been avoiding? I don't know how you feel about him.
I haven't watched a lot of tape on the kid, so I'd have to go and watch tape where I had a formal opinion on him. I haven't watched a lot of tape on Lamb Larison, to be honest with you.
Which is fine. Now, these guys you should know a little bit more than Lamb Larison. Tom wants to know, and I do believe this is our good buddy, our Dolphins fan, Ferrell.
Yep, that's fans, Tom Smith.
Where does David think the two running backs from OSU go in the NFL draft? I'm assuming he is talking about Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. David, do you have any feelings on where these guys go in the actual NFL draft? Because if you do believe that they're both first-round picks or early second-round picks or whatever, this obviously has skewed the way you've been drafting them in best ball leagues. How do you feel about the Ohio State rookie running backs in this year's draft?
I think Henderson has a ton of upside. Judkins is a grinder. I don't know how his game translates to the NFL. We'll see. He got a little Najee Harris in his game to me, so I don't know if I don't really try to push Judkins up. Henderson, I'm all aboard. I'd like to have a piece of Henderson if I can. He goes right now. I mean, even without his landing spot, he's being drafted in the 4th and 5th round of these drafts, every one of them. So I'm not sold on where they're going to go, because a lot of these teams need running backs. So and with the talent of these guys, you can see some weird stuff. I don't think you can. This year is going to be real hard to have a draft flow just like all these experts think it's going to flow, because I think you'll see some teams making some moves where they think this is like, these kids are like once in 20-year opportunity, and people might move up to get a running back where in years past they haven't. So
Balky's going to be right there reporting on it.
Yeah, Green Bay.
Going to be right there in the catbird seat.
I'm not looking forward to it because I know how busy I'm going to be up in I don't know if you guys know Doug Gottlieb at all. Yeah,
a little bit. Yep.
So Gottlieb is like, he and I are sharing a desk for when we're broadcasting.
Like a partner's desk?
Yeah, kind of a partner's desk, because I go on before him. And he is broadcasting live at the same location as I am. And I'm trying to get him on my show. We'll see if it happens. But it's going to be wild, man. And there are like 3, maybe 4 ways in and out of Green Bay from where I live. So I know it's going to be like 2 hours of sleep. And like Scott Pianowski from Yahoo talked to me about this. And I told him, like, hey, this is like a few months ago when I had him on one of my shows, and I said, are you getting tired? Like the grind and everything. And David, you know how hard it is to grind. And he said, no, look, we work in the toy department of the store. Nobody's crying for us,
Yeah.
And so I'm not asking for anybody to cry for me, because don't do it. Like, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an absolute unbelievable week here covering the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But yeah, it's going to be tiring. I'm going to lose sleep over it, but that's okay because I like it. And David, you know this because of all the drafts that you have drafted. Throw back to January when you've been drafting, and going forward to August and September. You know how hard it is, but at the same time, you have help, and this is what makes it worthwhile: is having all these teams, all these pokers in the fire to try to translate all this hard work from a little spark to a massive bonfire that can win you a 7-figure grand prize.
After this draft, the board will flip. I mean, there's going to be depending on landing spots, you'll see a lot of movement in Darren Amani's ADP charts, because after the draft, landing spots will make a huge difference with some of these kids for sure.
John,
Balky,
hold on real quick, Ferrell. John Terry piping in right now. What jersey is Balky wearing to the draft?
You misspelled your name. He might be talking about
okay.
somebody
Don't worry
else.
about it. I have a lot of good ones. I have, and this is just one. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have a Dwayne Bowe Chiefs jersey. I have a Chad Pennington Jets jersey. I have a Trent Richardson Browns jersey. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but all those are in play right now, and I'm looking forward to trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the draft next week in Green Bay. Go ahead, my friend.
I think you should show up in a Milwaukee Brewer jersey.
Nobody's going to appreciate that.
That would be your thing. And then if Gottlieb were to see any of your work, he might ask for a different show schedule. He might not want to follow you.
It's very possible.
So that's all I'm saying. You know, that happens in the music business all the time. I'm not going on after that.
Thank you. I want to bring up the Jets here, David, with Justin Fields now as the quarterback over Aaron Rodgers, over Zach Wilson, over Chad Pennington. Everybody that they had over the last 10, 15, 20 years there. Justin Fields brings up a unique proposition at the quarterback position here, for lack of a better term, for what he can do personally as a fantasy quarterback for you in best ball and dynasty. But what I want to focus in on is what he is going to do for Garrett Wilson, his former collegiate teammate at Ohio State. How good or how bad, or what is going to be the Justin Fields effect on Garrett Wilson this season?
I really like Fields for Wilson. Their history going back to college. Fields, DJ Moore's best year was with Justin Fields. So Justin Fields kind of gets a bad rap. And personally, I'm rooting for the Jets. My best friend who goes out with me to draft some of these teams is a huge Jets fan. Lonnie, I think you met her out there, and she's just a diehard Jets fan. So I'm hoping Justin Fields reaches his ceiling with the Jets, and I think he has a chance to. I think he hurts Breece Hall a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of noise about the Jets going to like a 3 running back rotation with Breece and Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. So I think Fields will hurt all those guys, but I think he's going to help Garrett Wilson reach his. I think Garrett Wilson may have his best year ever as a pro this year.
That's cool.
I am not against that, and I could totally see that. David, as long as you brought up Breece Hall, running back 12 in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament right now. He is going at the 304 behind Kendra Miller. No, that's not accurate at all. Hold on. Let me sort this properly. Kendra Miller is definitely going after Breece Hall.
Yeah, he goes way after.
Yes, thank you. But Breece Hall is going after Bucky Irving. He's going after Josh Jacobs. He's going after Kyron Williams. He is going before James Cook, Omarion Hampton, and Chase Brown. Your thoughts on Breece Hall right now, based on what you just shared with us, knowing that there's a possibility this could be a 3-way share in the backfield. How do you handle Breece Hall at running back 12 at the 304 in the best ball tournament?
I was a huge Breece Hall fan when he first came out of college, but there's something to it, I think, with the coaches. And then the Isaiah Davis kid impressed me last year. And then Braylon had a good stretch, but then he went away. He's a big kid, so I could see them spread the ball around because Breece was banged up. And if you're really honest with yourself, I had a lot of Breece Hall. Breece Hall didn't look right for periods of the year. He broke a couple of long runs, and it looked like he had a plow he was pulling behind him. So I don't know if that was from the knee. He wasn't fully recovered from that, or maybe he never fully recovers and is the same back he was. So there might be something to that noise, and all the drafters are buying into that noise because he's going way lower than what you would think Breece Hall should go in drafts. And he continues to move down the board. I mean, I've seen him in drafts go 3.9, 3.10 in some drafts, in these best ball drafts. So, yeah, if you are a Breece Hall believer, you can definitely get some reasonable prices on Breece Hall right now.
Pull in the plow, Balky. There's a KFFSC team name for you.
He looked like he was definitely pulling the plow at times.
Who's your friend? Is the Jets fan?
Lottie Huey. Lottie and Phil Huey. She's married to Phil, and they come draft with me on all.
I've met these guys. We shout out, Balky. You mentioned shout outs early in the show. Shout out to our beloved friend Leroy Corson and his recovery from surgery,
which has been successful, and he is resting right now. So shout out to Leroy. Absolutely,
answers to our prayers. We should get Lottie and a Jets fan, and Leroy together, and they can talk about Aaron Rodgers. Now, that would be great. So I got to talk about something, and I don't know why. It's strange we keep talking about Strange. This tight end from Jacksonville, just because Ingram has moved on, I guess, this conversation keeps coming up. And I think he was a late second-round draft pick. The guy I think it's important to note that everyone who drafted him in the second round of Jacksonville is now either working somewhere else or looking for a job. And I think he's a pretty good football player. He enters his third year, caught 40 balls last year. There's nothing that makes me believe that this player is going to help us win in the FFPC. Am I wrong, right, or is it still to be determined?
He definitely could help you win. The way he's priced, he definitely could. He has value for sure. He goes 12th, 13th round, 14th round of a lot of these drafts. And the kid flashed. I like big athletic tight ends like him, and now he has no competition unless they add a tight end. He has zero competition for targets. It's him and Brian Thomas' show right now. I
remember him from the combine. He did look athletic, but he did not look fast.
Yeah, but he showed he has football speed. He separated from a lot of linebackers last year, and if you go back and watch the games, he definitely is a problem against linebackers.
It is no longer Strange, Balky, that we will continue to discuss Strange with
and his price. If he was like a 6th or 7th rounder, then maybe. But he's a 12th, 13th, 14th rounder in every draft.
Balky, who's going around him?
For Brenton Strange, you're talking about?
Yeah, because in the 6th round you can still get Ferguson, right? Or even later.
Ferguson goes 8th, 9th round in the.
I think that's a steal. I think there's a real tight end.
So Strange, there's a glut of tight ends going around Strange right now, and I'm talking about the Never Too Early best ball tournament. But you're looking at Brenton Strange as a 1209 pick, which is basically the same ADP as Hunter Henry, but right before Strange. Less than a half round before him, Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth, right? So you're looking at Kmet, Freiermuth, Strange, and Henry all in the 12th round, right? Mm-hmm. If you go ahead of that, Goddard and Likely are in the 11th round. If you go behind that, Gesicki and Ertz and K. Dotton are in the 13th round, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the range you're looking at with Strange. But with Strange, I think is interesting is like he's got the pedigree and if you look at what Jacksonville has done or what they have not done with Trevor Lawrence, I think there's a lot to like about Strange here for fantasy purposes. This is not some 6th round schlub that is just a blocking tight end. Mm. He's got the chops that kept him ahead of Tyler Warren, that kept him ahead of Theo Johnson, right, in at Penn State. And whether that's legit or not, I don't know, but it happened. And I think when you look at what you have to pay for him in the best ball tournaments in the dynasty streets, it makes a lot of sense to have Strange on your team rather than not having him on your team for sure. Okay, let's move on here. I want to. Oh, Ferrell, go ahead. We're running low on time. I'm going to let you ask David Hubbard our final question of the night here for best ball teams here in the FFPC in 2025.
Best ball teams, Dave. You say you've been doing a lot of them. We're going to invite you to do some in Kentucky too. But don't forget the big gorilla and all this good stuff. You got to get in all that stuff. But let me ask you something. It's a player. We talked about a lot of players. You got to give me a fresh one, a guy that you're really, really targeting this year, and another guy that you are avoiding. That would be my Jalen Waddle. I'm avoiding Jalen Waddle. So who's the guy that you're avoiding?
I'm not avoiding Jalen Waddle, but
I know that. We previously talked about that, but I'm saying somebody that you just don't like at his price.
I would have to say Aaron Jones. Older running back. I can't stay healthy. I just don't want to pay any kind of price for him this year. Yes. I'd rather with the running back market, I think I can get better outs, is what I call them, than relying on him to get me to the promised land. I don't think he's going to get a lot of teams to the promised land, so I would have to say Aaron Jones. And to add to that, I've always been Aaron Jones' truther when he first came out, but he's long in the tooth now, and I'm not a big fan of long in the tooth running back. Derrick Henry's kind of somehow avoided that. I don't know, he's just a freak of nature, but most running backs.
Well, he's a freak of hard work.
Yeah.
I'll say he's a freak of hard work. All right. Well, who is the guy who just when you mentioned this guy is going to shoot up the draft board? So I think it might be unfair.
Are you talking about early rounds or middle rounds?
I don't care. No, it's just a guy that you got to have wherever you're going to have. Because I'll be 18th round rolls around, I'll be drafting Pittman. That's my guy.
Yeah,
a guy that you have to have.
I'll go with the homer. I mean, the obvious pick for me is Brian Thomas. If I had to, if I want to play, that's who I would want to have. If I could do a draft and that he's the guy that I believe in the most. So I would say Brian Thomas. I know it's a kind of a layup, but if you're asking me who I would move up the board, it'd be Brian Thomas.
I can understand that.
So I just want to just go back to the Jordan Mason thing. The Vikings received the 187th overall pick, which is in the 6th round this year, and they sent a 5th round pick to the Niners and a 2026 6th round pick, which is fine, whatever. But then the fact that the Vikings inked Mason to an extension, to me is alarms are going off. Like they understand that part of the reason, and this is probably my Packers bias showing, but part of the reason that Aaron Jones was so successful in Green Bay was that he was never the man.
Never the man
for all those great Packers teams. And so while this is like, oh God, this sucks for Aaron Jones. Maybe in the short term it's not that great. Or excuse me, maybe in the short term it's good, it's fine, it doesn't affect it, but in the long term it's not great. I understand the fact that this will help Jones stay healthy, and he's going to be on the field more. But he's got to like he's still got to avoid injury, and he, this seems like obvious what I'm saying. He's never been as old as he is this year, right? Time only goes in one direction.
Yeah.
And so when you have the Vikings committing the way that they have to Jordan Mason, I think that you have to rein back your Aaron Jones love. And I'm speaking to all the viewers tonight. I think that as much as you loved him over the course of his career, this is the year that you got to think about, like, okay, what I have enjoyed with Aaron Jones on my fantasy team may not happen this year. And
how good did Mason look with the 49ers? I mean,
it was awesome. He was awesome. He was fantastic. And I don't see any reason why that shouldn't continue in Minnesota this year. I think they're going to address offensive line. They already have addressed offensive line and free agency in the draft. I think they're going to do that as well. So that's going to help Jordan Mason for sure. David, my God, this has been so good tonight.
I enjoyed it.
So glad to have you on. The 2016 FFPC Main Event champion, you and Nelson Sousa. I remember. I don't know why. I remember watching that final game. I know the bar I was at in Appleton. Ferrell, you may have been there as well when and you'll be up in Appleton coming up in August. I remember the bar. I was like, God, Sousa and Hubbard are going to win this thing tonight. And I was watching you guys going back and forth on X that night, or Twitter back then. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, we're witnessing history here. And you have had a lot of success since then. And who knows, maybe this will continue in 2025, where you win the Big Gorilla, or you win the main event, or you win the best ball tournament. I know you get a lot of skin in the game there. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight and sharing your insight in how you've been building all your teams so far. We will continue to keep tabs on everything you've been doing throughout the season. Enjoy the draft next week. Enjoy drafting season as we go up until early September with the FFPC. Thank you so much again for carving out some time for us tonight, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Barky. Good seeing you, Ferrell. Take care,
here, brother.
That is David Hubbard. Thank you. David, joining us tonight, David Hubbard, the 2016 FFPC Main Event champion, along with Nelson Sousa, hanging out with us tonight. What a treat, Ferrell.
It was great. And, you and Dave have something in common. He's been carrying around Sousa with him for years, and you do the same thing for me. So it's fantastic.
That is not.
This is very much the truth, and it's wonderful. He reminds me, like he gave up secrets tonight of what he does.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me of the old Bear Bryant quote. He'll take his and beat yours, and he'll take yours and beat his. So it's just It's just and I'm so glad that he made a public announcement that he was coming to Kentucky this year, and he's a busy man. I won't hold him to it, but I think we got our best shot ever. As long as it doesn't blow his damn telephone poles crooked again, we'll be all right. I'll never forget that picture. You know,
it was wild. Some of the stuff that's been going on in Southern Texas is
great.
Crazy. So, number one, I want to say this before anybody starts frying us on X. David did not carry Nelson.
Oh yeah, he did.
No. Ferrell.
I told Nelson this, and he agreed with me. Well, no, he did. I don't know, but I told him that.
Nelson.
I told him that, and then I quickly headed to the bar.
Nelson Sousa is a friend of mine. He's an incredibly accomplished player on his own or with players. Like I think Nelson. I think the world of Nelson.
It's just like me. I'm faking it. You know, in your shadow, I can fake it and get by. People say nice things. You know, it's great. I couldn't even find the "I got 5 on it" button. You know,
I get it. You
know, I mean, come on.
Now listen. I want Ferrell is being very kind. He's being very self-deprecating tonight. Ferrell is an incredibly talented fantasy football player.
No.
He is an incredibly talented host of this show, as is Nelson Sousa, not only hosting his own shows and you know, chiming in on everything high stakes fantasy football. He is an incredibly talented player when it comes to
Nelson's show is about cooking, isn't it?
I know it is not.
No,
and I want this out on the record right now that I am a big believer in Nelson Sousa and David Hubbard as equals, as well as Ferrell Elliott, which
they're a great partnership, and it goes further than those two. It's a consortium of fantasy talent, and I kid the Nelson, but there's more truth in my evaluation of you carrying me.
Listen, I don't subscribe to that as well, Ferrell. I
wonder if Nelson tuned in tonight.
He might have.
I wish he would. I wish he would come on.
We got to get him back on the show. He's been
on the show a
couple of times. We got to get him back on the show. Now, Ferrell, last night, and I know we're running short on time, I did the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Bear Sports Network. Our mutual friends, Bill Hollywood and Dominic Guzzetti, were on this show. Or they weren't on the show, but they were in the chat room for it. And Bill said, "Hey, Dom, this main event with Kentucky, the training camp division, we got 7 teams left in this. Why don't you sign up for it?" And I chimed in on the chat when we were doing the show last night. I said, "Hey, I'm in that division." And Dom's like, "All right, what the heck? Might as well." And I look at it right now, Ferrell. We're down to 5 teams in that.
Wow.
It is
the power of bulky persuasion.
Well, I wouldn't say it was the power of Bill Hollywood persuasion.
Well, Bill Hollywood doesn't think he's a straw that stirs the drink.
He is the straw that stirs the drink. So we're looking at this right now. This is the first, Ferrell, slow draft for the main event for Kentucky this season. So not only am I in this, but you're looking at Dom Guzzetti, who is in this, Bill Hollywood, who is in this, former guest of this show, Fran Shinnick is in this, Biplab Mandel is in this as well, and some other people I'm not familiar with, but that's okay. But we got 5 teams left in this, so I would encourage anybody who is looking for some skin in game in the the KFFSC main event to join that right now at kffsc.com. Now the other
step on in there.
There you go. Now the other thing I want to bring up tonight is this a first of its kind? The KFFSC Best Ball Tournament? Is this the first year we've ever had this before?
We've always had it in managed teams, but this is our Sweet 16, 96 teams, $10,000 grand prize, $300 entry. And it'll be up and available on the site right after Easter Sunday. And we'd like everyone to come in and enjoy their 28-round best ball draft. We'll have some slow. We'll have some live online drafts. It'll be great.
So check that out. This is going to be going live this coming week. I will be in the first 2. This is the bourbon old fashioned division, and I'll also be in the Ferrell, remind me again.
I think you signed up for the Always Dreaming division.
Always Dreaming.
Even though they're not posted yet, I got some people calling in.
No.
saying,
I'm already in. I'm already in. The Always Dreaming and the Bourbon Old Fashioned divisions for that KFFSC best ball tournament. I will be in those. I'll be starting with those. If you want to compete against me, sign up at kffsc.com. Now, I'll also bring this up, and I want to turn this into a KFFSC podcast. Let's face it, it kind of is, which is good. The KFFSC Draft Master, I'm already in right now. I'm having a blast drafting there. There is a KFFSC Draft Master 2, just $39. Sign up for that right now. We got Ralph Chavon in that. Scott Christian is in that. James Hicks. Oinker will be participating in that as well. Mark Moyer, our good buddy Mark Moyer, who's been on this show before, he's in that as well. KFFSC.com is where to sign up for that. A good warm-up for the KFFSC Best Ball Tournament, which will be starting up after Easter. And then, obviously, the main event's going on right now. KFFSC.com, whether you want to draft online with me, whether you want to draft live with me. I'll be there in Louisville as well. KFFSC.com is where to go for that. Ferrell, thank you so much for hanging out. A very happy Easter with you, and we will be back live with you this coming Wednesday, the night before the NFL draft. Can't wait for that.
See you then, buddy.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. KFFSC.com is where to sign up for all those leagues. I got to check to see if I'm up in some of these slow drafts with the KFFSC. You can also play the FFPC best ball tournament, never too early best ball tournament. We are looking at 90% plus full of those tournaments, and they will cut off this coming Thursday if they're still open. We may fill up by then. $40,000 grand prize, $10,000 grand prize. Sign up at myffpc.com. I believe, and I'm going to look this up right now, just to make sure I'm not speaking out of my own rear end. The FFPC Dynasty teams, as far as orphans go, we are looking at, drum roll please, 1, 2, 3 orphan teams are left for the FFPC. So if you're looking to pick up one of the final 3 orphan teams, go to myffpc.com and do so. However, if you are looking for Dynasty Startup Leagues, oh yeah, we got those going on mid-April here in the FFPC. We have several leagues close to filling already. Some leagues have already filled. As far as the Dynasty Leagues go, you're looking at 3 teams left in the 250 Standard Dynasty 411. That starts Monday, April 28th at 9:30 Eastern Time. We also have 6 teams available in the $500 Superflex Dynasty League. That will start at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, April 28th. And for you high rollers out there, the $2,500 Superflex RotoViz Triflex Dynasty League number 14, 6-hour slow timer, starts May 10th at noon Eastern Time. 5 teams left in that, as well as a ton of other teams available at myffpc.com as far as Dynasty Startups. Okay, so there you go on that. The Big Gorilla Tournament filling up each and every day. Get in now, and you'll be entered into the Early Rampage Tournament. That is basically 2 tournaments for the price of 1 now at myffpc.com. If you happen to keep hitting that 7 pick in the 7 Bananas promotion when you register, no extra cost on that. We've already awarded free best ball tournament entries, free main event team entries. And if you hit it 5 times in a row, you'll get a free jungle safari for 4, courtesy of the Fantasy Football Players Championship. So there you go. Dynasty Startups, the Big Gorilla Tournament, and the Never Too Early Best Ball and Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball tournaments, which will close on Thursday, myffpc.com. Make sure you're registering for those. Only a handful of leagues left there. Get in while the getting's good, and you could win a $40,000 grand prize as these leagues will be cut off on Thursday. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. My apologies. I was paying attention a lot to Ferrell and David tonight, so I don't know if I got to enough of your YouTube questions, but I'll try to get to them as much as I can next week. Remember, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network aired on this past Thursday. Chad Parsons from Under the Helmet, Dynasty, the Dynasty Think Tank, and Football Guys was my guest. A lot of great Dynasty stuff on that show. Watch it on the FFPC and Better Sports Network socials in case you missed it. This coming Thursday, we will not have a show because I'll be at the NFL Draft in Green Bay. So we are going live Monday at 7 o'clock with Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros. That is going to be an awesome show. 7 o'clock. Don't miss that. This coming Monday for the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour will not air on Friday this coming week. We'll be airing on Wednesday with 7-time FFPC Dynasty champ Brad Larson. He will be our guest this coming Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So you got the HSFF show on Monday, you got the HSFF hour on Wednesday, and you got the NFL draft on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to be a great week for fantasy football. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, streaming, downloading. I appreciate each and every one of you. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
If you're wondering, just make sure you are going to KFFSC.com and registering for those first 2 best ball tournament drafts that KFFSC will have. I will be in both of them. I promise you. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun drafting in the KFFSC so far, whether it be the Sweet 16, the main event, or some of the best ball best ball leagues that they've had going on there. I love it, and you will love it too. KFFSC.com. MyFFPC.com is where to go for the never too early best ball tournaments before they close on Thursday. And of course, Dynasty Orphans, Dynasty Startups, and the Big Gorilla Tournament over at myffpc.com. We will talk with you again on Monday on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show. We'll talk with you again on Wednesday on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour with myself, Ferrell Elliott, and Brad Larson. Be good, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will talk with you again very soon.